Okay, so for the catching portion of this video, I am fishing a completely new area. It's my first time there. I'm using a 1/2 ounce Spro 5-inch mullet. I split the tail because the current here is a lot stronger than what I'm used to. And that's one of the tricks I do to get a light jig down deeper and stay in that depth zone for a longer time. And I'll leave a link in the top right hand corner which explains all the various ways I get a light jig down deep in current and all the gear I use and little tips and tricks. But in any case, here I'm fishing a point that has current sweeping around it, and it also has a really steep drop off into about 50 feet. So all I did was look on the Navionics chart, and anytime I see that kind of structure, I'm gonna stop and throw a jig for at least a few minutes. So just a quick note, I've been using the Kitech baits for fluking up until this point. And the reason I'm not using Kitech is I still have more confidence in gulp. I think as a search bait, if you just want to know if there's fluke in the area, really, especially when the water temperatures are up, it's hard to beat gulp. They respond to it. They're one of the few species that do. For example, you don't hear about people using gulp for striped bass. Berkeley got really lucky with their formula when it comes to fluke. So first I locate fish with gulp, and then later I switch to experimenting with this and that. And there you get a view of how the 5-inch mullet fits on the 1/2 ounce Spro. The hook is a little small. I think it's a 4/0 Gammy 604. But this to me is the perfect jig head to bait combo for all sizes of fish. And as you see here, I catch the smallest fluke I've caught this year. And I've caught fluke to over 8 pounds on the same 1/2 ounce Spro 5-inch mullet combo. And white is always a good color to start with, then chartreuse, and then every now and then they want pink. So with gulp, the colors are pretty standard. The rod I'm using is the Shimano X-Bride 7'2" medium heavy. The reel is the Crudo K 7:1 gear ratio. So as usual, I'm casting up current. There's a little bit of wind against tide, which is holding me pretty much in place. So that's not a bad thing if you're casting your jig out. And all I'm doing is slackline jigging. I'm popping the jig on slack 1, 2, 3, or 4 times and letting it fall on slack. And it's pretty effective. I mean, overall, the single jig has accounted for better quality fish over the years, at least for me and for a few other people I know, some of whom post on YouTube as well. So now the fluke is behind the drift, and I'm going to drag it till it's in front of me just to get it in position for the netting. And then here I turn the fluke towards the net, and head first you glide it in. So this fish didn't really know what was happening until it was in the net, and that's ideally how you want to handle your fluke at the surface. And there's a lot of boats in the area, so I'm trying to be as stealthy as I can. It's a little hard when you're fishing off a surfboard. And right after I have this fluke on the clip and I bled it out, this gentleman came from right behind me and asked me how fishing was. So, you know, I gave him a half honest answer, right? You're not being interrogated by the FBI when people ask you how fishing is, so you can respond accordingly. How's it going?
Is there anything?
Yeah, shorts.
Just over there, catch a pocky.
Oh, nice, nice.
Over the bridge.
There you go. Okay, so this Fluke, I've frozen. The FDA requires all restaurants to freeze their Fluke for 7 days at -4 Fahrenheit. A lot of restaurants have blast chillers. They go down to -50. But this has been about 8 days at -4, which is pretty cold for a home freezer. And this is the first time we're doing it. Every other time we've had it fresh, right? And we're okay. But let's see how this turns out. All right, so you can kind of feel it's you know, after you freeze it, it's like a different texture. And I've had it cooked, but not raw. I'm gonna trim these pieces. See, there's like a little membrane that runs along the side. And you know, if you're gonna serve it raw, you wanna just take off that membrane. I generally prefer the white side for raw dishes, but we also have a black side just to compare. And I already checked for bones on these, so there's not going to be any bones. So then now we're just going to roll these in paper towels as usual, put them in the fridge, and do the rest of our ingredients. So the components, there's a lot of components. But first we're going to pickle some shallots and radishes. And this is just apple cider vinegar with a little sugar and a pinch of salt. The shallots we're just going to slice relatively thin. And the actual vinaigrette we're making for the fish is going to be based on lime and lemons. But you don't want the same kind of acid on every component, you know? And it becomes pretty boring to your palate. And we're gonna use a mandolin. There, perfect. And these are one of the more dangerous tools in the kitchen. So you leave the stem on, so you have something to grab onto.
Some people have something to like...
Yeah, there's like a plastic.
Yeah, plastic thing, yeah.
That's for home cooks. Watch, I'm gonna slice my finger open after saying that shit. And then these will just soak in the same vinegar bath. Right, just kind of make sure it's submerged. And there's the shallots. So these two are the marinated components. The rest will all be fresh, and we're just gonna dress it with a little vinaigrette.
Nice. Is that grapefruit?
Yeah. All right, so these, I got 2 oranges and a grapefruit, and we're gonna cut supremes from them.
Awesome. I love this speed. You're like 1.5x right now.
Yeah. You just want to follow the fruit down, right? Try not to waste too much, but you don't want any pith. So err on the side of no pith.
Boom.
Okay. One more. So you see these membranes? You just go between. So here, that's the supreme. And you just, you know, go in between the membranes. You can control how large and small you want these slices. All right. All right, and then a lime again. Are we recording?
Mm-hmm.
It's like a mix of citrus, you know? Let's start with juice half a lemon. But this is not like a really powerful, it's not really acidic. And then these spent orange segments, some sweetness.
It's a juice ball.
Oh yeah, and then not too much grapefruit. Grapefruit's a little weird.
It's a little astringent.
It's a little bitter, you know, but a little bitterness is not a bad thing. So there's that. All right, so instead of a vinaigrette, we're just gonna use this citrus mix to marinate the fluke pieces in. And then we'll separate the acid from the oil. The oil will just kind of drizzle on top. All right, so there's our citrus. Now I have both white and yellow nectarines. We're gonna make some julienne or matchsticks. Probably get one more slice. All right, I can feel the pit. So these, you just stack them up and just slice thinly. And you don't want to peel them because what you end up with is the skin on each side of the little matchsticks, and it looks nice. The yellow one, just for some contrast. And all these fruit, you know, it could just be what's in season, and it doesn't really matter. You just want a little burst of flavor on the plate, and it could be anything. And I'm not a sushi chef, but you don't need sushi cuts. You just need relatively thin cuts. Not paper thin, just. I was talking to Dan from Sushi Every Day, and he's giving me some ideas for some sushi dishes that a non-sushi chef can make. I can tell you right now, the texture feels very different after it's frozen. Black slice. This is from the back. It's from the black side. So here's the citrus juice, and you know, it's not full strength because there's all that orange and grapefruit juice in it. But we're just gonna marinate it for a few minutes. And that's it. Okay, roll it up.
Let's roll it up and cut it.
Just try to go as fine as you can. This you want to do at the last second, like with any herb. Plate. Just put some of this matchstick. We'll do some pickled shallots. Some of the fruit. And the fluke pieces. See if they caught a little bit. You don't want to say cooked, but you know, the texture has definitely changed. That's a good piece. And get a mix of the dark and the white side. A little bit of kosher salt. And here we happen to have some salmon roe. It's been cured. Okay. And last, we'll just do a few of these pickled radishes. not least, some olive oil. And I prefer doing this over the vinaigrette.
All right.
Is it recording?
Yeah. Get a little shallots.
There you go.
Oh yeah. Like that. Oh yeah.
How's the texture? That's what I'm curious about since we froze this one.
It's a little bit looser. Tender.
It's
right?
like not as chewy,
Firm.
right? Yeah. It's interesting.
Well, nothing
like,
wrong with that.
Like I've talked to people who, you know, there's certain species of fish that freezing it is almost like cooking it.
Delicious though.
Okay, so here's a still photo of the dish, and thanks again to my cousin Mark who filmed everything. We were under the gun during this filming. It's Father's Day and we had a million things to throw on the grill for a family barbecue. But in any case, thank you for watching. If you like what you see, please subscribe. And I'm trying to put out a catch and cook or a solid fishing video once a week, and hopefully soon twice a week. Anyway, thank you for watching.